For the suspension, we're going to use instances to make copies of one corner of the suspension, just to make it easier, so we don't have to model it over and over. So I'm holding Shift and clicking the cube to create a new cube with a new layer. So let me do that again. If I delete that, Shift, click, so it made a whole new layer. And let me call this suspension layer. And I'll just move it in polygons over to the side a little bit. And now the thing with items is each item will have its own center. So if I press number 7 while I have this suspension layer or the suspension item, press number 7, that's our center right over there. So if I want to make this center snap to the object over here, I can go back to item mode, so press number 5, Control Shift Space, just like how we center polygons. We usually say center all or center X for the polygons, but when you're in item mode it's a little bit different. We have more options here just for items, and that's center to bounding box. And what that means is that center we just saw over there will come to the bounding box of this item. So let's make it go on to the left side. And if I press 7, now you can see that this center snapped to the left side of that object. So that's good. I'm gonna squish it down a little bit, bring it out. And actually, let me just make a really simple geometry here. So I'm gonna do a loop slice, bevel, bevel, and then pick these two and bridge. So Shift B, escape. So here's my item, right? If I press number 7, there's my center. So let me grab this item. If I press Shift D, that will create an instance of it. Shift D and move. So the instance will look purple and it'll have italicized letters. So there's the instance. If you want to see the instance, you can hold down Control 1, toggle background, and now just move it into place here wherever you think the suspension would be. So let's say I want to have some kind of an angle in the suspension too. The cool thing is, since I've got my pivot from this original item here, whenever I try to move it in item mode, it's gonna center around that pivot. Likewise, for the instance, it centers around that pivot. So that just makes it a lot easier to work with. And then with the original, we can always adjust, and that's how we get interesting angles going while still keeping the construction flat and easy. So you could, let's say, build a cylinder here, let's say 24 sides and 1 segment, and let me turn off symmetry also. So how about if I wanted to center the pivot onto this actual cylinder here? What I could do is cut this part off, so Control X, then select that item, then Control Shift Space, and center to bounding box, center. Now if I press number 7, I can see the center is right in the middle of that circle. So now I can just go back to polygons, Control V to paste it back, and then this stuff will be there. But again, my pivot, since whenever I rotate in item mode, it will take on that pivot, which is awesome for these kind of mechanical joints. All right. So now we can just build something out. maybe duplicate this, move it up. Actually, let me delete this whole thing, except for that one piece. Thicken it. Let's go like that. Copy, paste, move. I'm gonna rotate this, holding Control. And then like that. Or get rid of these two. Bevel. Okay, so let me go back here. Maybe I can just copy one of these ones. I'm gonna bevel this, turn off group, and make it a little bit smaller. Cut, paste, oops, and then delete this. And let me move this up, thicken a little bit. U to unhide. Let's bevel. Oops. And I'm gonna try to make this overlap those lines that are down there already. I don't want anything like too close to each other. Yeah. Okay, so Control Q. Maybe we could do something from the front view. I'm just using edge extend here on a flat plane. Bevel. Okay, and then thicken. And let's mirror on Y. Okay, and I'm gonna hide these two so they don't get cut. And then Control Q. U to unhide. Okay. Okay, so U to unhide. And let's give this that structure material M and structure. Oops. B E. So this is kind of awkward here. I think I'll get rid of the stuff behind here. G, Alt 3, delete. P to fill this. Delete that one. Just make sure. This should be in the middle. Let me close up this hole down here. B, P, and backspace, or yeah, backspace. All right, I want to bring in a shock absorber too, and I have one that I built beforehand. I'm gonna just drag it in. Assets, meshes, hardware. And where is it? So this one I think will work. Just drag and drop. Okay, so with this, noticing that I'll kind of want to build a bracket for it onto this suspension. So let's go back here and move this in item mode, and maybe let's see, maybe I can draw a line here that loops around. Then another loop here. Shift. This is a C to draw this, and then let's see. Loop slice about there. I don't need this one. And then copy paste this over here. Now I'm going to grab these two, Alt, double click, B to bevel. Bevel the wheel in and over. And I'm gonna also add a couple of spheres. So I want a globe, control drag, and just stick that into here. So these could be ball joints. Okay, one for there, copy paste, and let's put another one up top. I'm gonna delete all the other ones. And I have the wheel selected. I'm gonna say Control Shift Space, center to bounding box. Center. Now if I press number 7, I got the center. I'm going to click on the center and move it to adjust it roughly to that position of the hub pivot. So now if I'm in item mode, I can steer the truck. We would also need some kind of a linkage here. Let's do S to slide that, B, and then we can grab these two, bevel. Okay, and then let's put in a post here. And then just a long bar for steering. Well, actually, this could be a cylinder too. Okay, so before we get into the rigging of the suspension and the wheels and all that, I want to make sure the scale and the dimensions are all right. So let me grab all this stuff. Oh, actually, let me move this one into the middle. Grab everything. Control G to group it. Let's press F1. And when I select all my items, I can see that this is about 58 feet, which is way too big. So let's go to System, preferences. If you go down to units, you can change this from English to metric if that's what you like. And but anyways, 58 feet. I'm gonna shoot for about 20 something feet. So let's grab that group, just the top group item, and then I can scale this down with R. Oops. R. Use that middle one. I think about 40% is fine, so 39%. And I'm gonna go back to here, select my items, and then I can see the dimensions are 22 feet by 17 feet. So I think that's much better. And now the tricky part though is, since we scaled in item mode, it's a little bit weird. So what I mean by that is, when I drag this stuff out of the group and check each item, you can see that this item here is scaled at 39%. 39%. So each of these took on that overall group scaling, which I definitely don't want. I want these all to be 100%. Otherwise it's going to cause problems with animation later on. So I'm going to select all my stuff again, all my items here. You can actually delete the group, you don't need it anymore. So grab all these. Under here there's a 0 button, so I'm going to click 0 and scale. And what that does is resets all the scales back to 100, which is really helpful for keeping our animations straight. Okay, great. So we are resized to a good size, and then we can continue from here.